When you think about how big companies are run, there's this one role that's part watchdog, part guide, and it's absolutely crucial. We're talking about the independent director in India. So let's dive into how this role went from being just a guardian to a real cornerstone of corporate governance.
I love this analogy. Think of a corporate board as a high-stakes chess game. Most of the pieces are working for the king, for the company's leadership. But the independent director? Nope. Their loyalty isn't to any single player. It's to the game itself, making sure everything is fair, the rules are followed, and all the stakeholders are protected.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with who these guardians are. Then we'll get into the heavy stuff, the duties and the risks. After that, we'll introduce the official databank, show you how to get on it, and then wrap up with the most important things to remember. First up, the guardian on the board. Let's get right to it and answer the big question, what exactly is an independent director? Okay, so here's the textbook definition. But what does it really mean? The key phrase here is no material pecuniary relationship. In simple terms, they're not on the payroll, they're not a major supplier, and they don't have financial ties that could cloud their judgment. It's this independence that is their superpower. So what's their mission? Well, it's a massive balancing act. They're there to ask the tough questions about management's performance, for sure. But just as important, they're the voice for the little guy, the minority shareholders. Their job is to protect everyone's interests, not just the people in the C-suite. Now that we know what they're supposed to do, let's talk about the real-world pressure. This isn't a ceremonial role. It comes with some serious weight, duties, high expectations, and yes, some very real liabilities. On paper, the expectation seems pretty simple, right? Show up, be smart, make good, unbiased decisions. But the reality can be a lot messier. There's often a gap, and it usually comes down to two things. First, does the director actually have the expertise, the capability to understand what's going on? And second, do they have the guts, the behavioral independence, to speak up when something feels wrong? And this brings us to the legal stuff, the fiduciary duties. These aren't just suggestions, folks. These are non-negotiable rules baked into company law. You have to act in good faith, you have to be diligent, you absolutely cannot have a conflict of interest, and this job is yours alone. You can't just send someone in your place. So, what happens when things go south? Well, the law does offer some protection, but it's not a get-out-of-jail-free card. You're on the hook for anything that happened with your knowledge or consent. And, crucially, you're also liable if you simply weren't being diligent. You can't just plead ignorance if you weren't doing your homework. And the consequences can be severe. Just look at the Amrapali Group case. The Supreme Court went after the personal property of all directors. They didn't care if you were running the company day-to-day or not. That was a huge wake-up call for everyone in a boardroom. Okay, so with all that risk, how do we make sure people are qualified for this job? Well, that's where the government stepped in. Let's talk about the Independent Directors Data Bank. So what is this data bank? It's basically a government-run initiative, a central, verified registry of everyone who is or wants to be an independent director. Think of it as a professional, high-stakes LinkedIn curated by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs itself. And the goals here are pretty clear. First, create a list of people you can trust. Second, give those people the tools to stay sharp with online learning. Third, make it super easy for companies to find the right director for their board. And the big picture goal? To raise the bar for corporate governance across the entire country. So, you might be thinking, okay, I'm interested. How do I get on this list? Let's walk through the actual path to getting impaneled. The process itself is very structured. You start at the Ministry of Corporate Affairs website, which then shoots you over to the Databank portal. You fill out your profile, pay a fee for a subscription, and boom, you get access to all these e-learning courses to prep you for the final step, the proficiency test. And let's be clear, this test is a mandate. It's not optional. To get your name in that databank and keep it there, you have to pass this online exam. It's designed to make sure everyone has a solid baseline of knowledge. Now, the process for the test is pretty straightforward. You log in, you take it, and hopefully you pass. But here's the really interesting part. You get unlimited attempts. This tells you the goal isn't to weed people out. It's to make sure everyone eventually learns the material and reaches a certain level of proficiency. Now, the test isn't for everybody.
The system is smart enough to recognize that some people have already proven their expertise through their careers. So, if you've got serious experience, like being a director at a big company for at least 3 years, or you've been a practicing lawyer or accountant for a decade, you get a pass on the test. Okay, let's bring it all home. What are the key things to take away from all this? Why does this whole system even matter? It's really a win-win situation. For directors, the data bank is a fantastic resource for learning, and it makes them more visible for board positions. And for companies, it's a total game changer. They get a pre-vetted pool of qualified candidates, which makes finding the right person so much easier and gives them confidence in who they're hiring. And for anyone serving in this role or thinking about it, you have to know about this. It's called the business judgment rule, and it's basically your legal shield. As long as you do your homework, act in good faith, and stay independent, the courts generally won't punish you for a business decision that just didn't pan out. Diligence is everything. And there's another really important safety net. The top 1,000 listed companies in India are now legally required to provide what's called D&O insurance for their independent directors. This is huge. It means if you do get sued, there's an insurance policy there to cover your legal costs. So we'll end on this question. The rules are clearer than ever. The system is in place, we have tests and data banks, but can a system, no matter how perfectly designed, actually manufacture integrity? Or at the end of the day, does it all still come down to the character and courage of the person sitting in that boardroom chair? Something for us all to think about.